If you've typed your address into Zillow recently and stared at that number wondering if it's real, you're not alone. And look, Zillow gets some things right, but there's a whole bunch of information it simply can't give you. And here in San Jose, that can cost you a lot of money. So here's what I mean. There are a lot of streets in the city that are premium. Buyers want them, and streets that aren't just nice. So sometimes literally these are 2 or 3 blocks apart, and that difference can be $100,000 or more. And Zillow has no idea which one you're on. It's just pulling square footage from a radius and doing math. It can't feel what a buyer feels when they turn onto your street for the very first time. It also doesn't do a great job telling you which side of a school boundary line you're on. In Cambrian or Almaden, that one thing can change your entire buyer pool, even if the house on the other side of the district looks identical to yours. And it has no clue how buyers are feeling this week. Right now, visa uncertainty is quietly pulling a lot of buyers out of the market. And if someone isn't sure their job or their work status is going to be stable, they're not buying a home. That's just the reality right now, and no algorithm online is going to pick that up. So let me actually answer the question. What is your San Jose home worth right now? The honest answer is it depends on 4 things: your location within the city, the condition of your home compared to what buyers are actually seeing, what price range you're in, and what's going on with buyers right now. And that's it. Those 4 things drive your number more than anything else, and the reason I lead with that is because most online estimates only get one of those right, and that's the location part. Well, kind of. And they miss the other 3 things almost entirely. So let me walk you through each one because this is where the real answer lives. San Jose isn't just one market, and I say this to sellers constantly and it still catches them off guard. This is a city of nearly 1 million people, and the neighborhoods behave completely different from each other, not just in price, but in who's buying and why. So Willow Glen buyers are usually making an emotional decision. They want the walkability, the architecture, those big mature trees, the whole feeling of that neighborhood. There's a lifestyle premium there that doesn't show up on any spreadsheet. And buyers stretch for Willow Glen because they want to be there, and you can feel that in their offers. Now Cambrian, totally different. Those buyers are running the numbers. They're tracking school boundaries down to the specific elementary school, comparing price per square foot, and measuring your home against everything else they toured that weekend. If yours looks even a little high on paper, they simply move on. So Almaden Valley is about the lot, the views, and the condition. The bar is high out there. A dated home on a regular interior street is a totally different sale than one with a hillside view, even at the same square footage, in the same zip code, but buyers are having a completely different conversation about what it's worth. And Berryessa is its own world. Different buyers, different price point sensitivity, different everything. So where you are in this city really matters, not just for the price, but for who's going to show up, how motivated they are, and what they're actually willing to pay. Now condition, and I don't mean the condition compared to what sold 2 months ago. I mean compared to what buyers are actually walking through this week. If everything getting attention in your neighborhood is fully updated and yours needs some work, buyers are going to factor that in, and they're going to factor it in hard. In Almaden, they expect a lot. In Willow Glen, sometimes the original character of a home actually works in your favor, even with older finishes. It just depends on your specific home and the street it's on. Price range matters too, more than most people realize. In San Jose, that 1.6 to 2 million range tends to have a deep competitive pool of buyers. There's real competition in there. Push above the 2.5 and that pool gets thin pretty fast unless it's larger or newer construction. And when there aren't that many buyers looking, you can't just rely on the market to do the work. Your pricing has to be much more precise. And then there's buyer confidence, which right now is genuinely complicated. Visa uncertainty, tech layoffs, stock market movement, interest rates, all of it affects how aggressive or cautious buyers are feeling this week. And none of that shows up in any automated estimate. You know what surprises most sellers when we sit down together? Recent sales tell you what already happened. Your pricing is what determines what's about to happen, and those are 2 very different things. The house that sold near you 2 months ago sold under completely different conditions, different rates, different competition, different levels of buyer confidence. The market this week might feel nothing like that. What got someone 5 offers in the spring doesn't automatically get them 5 offers in the fall. And here's the part that really hits your bottom line. If a home sits on the market here for more than 2 or 3 weeks without much going on, buyers start assuming something's wrong. Not necessarily with the house, but with the price. They figure other people have already looked at it and passed. And once that story starts, it's really hard to shake. So when you price it right and good activity early, you're in the driver's seat. Multiple buyers, real competition, offers coming in. You can push on price, push on terms, and pick the best deal every time. But when it sits, it flips completely. Buyers come in low, they start asking for things, they know you've been waiting and they use it. It's just a whole different negotiation when you're doing that. My name is Kip and I've been a licensed broker for over 20 years here in Silicon Valley. Besides being a top producer, I've sat on the ethics committee here for over a decade, and I've also managed an office here for the #1 brokerage in the country, overseeing billions of dollars in sales. And what I love more than anything is helping buyers and sellers here in Silicon Valley. So when I sit down with sellers to work through price, I don't just hand them a number and say, good luck. I walk them through a range, usually 3 different ways we could go, and we talk through what each one actually means for how the sale plays out. A conservative price keeps you right in the sweet spot the data supports. Predictable activity, buyers who feel good about the range, nothing risky. A strategic price, usually a little below where the data alone would take you. It's really about creating competition. You're trying to get multiple buyers excited at the same time and let them push each other up. I've seen this approach beat a higher starting price in Willow, Glen, and Cambrian more times than I can count. You end up above asking, but it's because the energy was there from day one. And this works especially well in a market like ours. When there are a lot of buyers out there looking for a home like yours and yours is showing better and priced better than everything else they're seeing, you're going to get competition. And that's just how it plays out here in Silicon Valley. And one thing I always tell sellers is to look at where similar homes started and where they actually ended up. That spread tells you everything. And honestly, this is the strategy most agents use when they're selling their own homes. So think about that for a second because it works. Now, it always comes down to this. Would you rather have buyers competing against each other to get your home or be in a situation where it's just you and one buyer negotiating against each other? Those are 2 very different conversations, and only one of them puts you in the driver's seat. And then there's the aspirational price, where you're really reaching for the top of what the market might bear. And look, sometimes that's the right call, but it takes a pretty special home to pull it off. We're talking unique, great condition, turnkey, because if those first 2 weeks are quiet, that window is gone and it doesn't come back. So look, I have this conversation a lot. We go through all of it together, and at some point the seller looks at me and says, let's just try it a little higher. We can always come down, right? And I get it. I really do. You've put years into your home and you want to get everything you can get out of it. But what I always ask is, do you want to see what usually happens when we start above the market? And then I wait. I want them to actually think about that before I keep going. Because here's what happens when a home sits 3 weeks or a month. Buyers here in Silicon Valley scrolling online don't think, oh, opportunity. They think something must be off. They assume other buyers have already looked and they've passed. And once that perception sticks, it's tough to unstick it. And if you do need to drop the price, here's something that most sellers just don't realize. A small reduction doesn't really fix the problem. In our market, dropping $10,000 or $20,000 doesn't turn heads. Buyers have already seen your home online, they scrolled past it for a reason, and a minor adjustment isn't just going to bring them back. If you're going to make a move, it has to be real. You need to actually sit down, take an honest look at what's selling and what's pending right now, look hard at your competition, and get genuinely competitive. Not kind of competitive, actually competitive. Because at that point, you're not just adjusting a number, you're trying to restart the entire conversation buyers are having about your home. And that almost always ends up costing more than just starting where you should have in the first place. Now look, I'm not trying to talk anyone out of their dream number. I just want sellers to understand the real risk before they make that call. That's my job, and sometimes that means telling you something you might not want to hear. So if you want to talk through what it looks like for your home specifically, I put together a free seller PDF guide. The link's in the description. Or just reach out. Seriously, no pitch, no pressure, just a real conversation. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey guys, for more content similar to this, smash that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.